Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of The Foley of Man. My name is Chris, and with me here today,
Robert.
And why are we here?
Because this is The Foley of Man, Pray.
Which is a sideshow, but not affiliated or associated with the original Foley of Man.
Wait, how does that work out? Wait, is this unauthorized? Wait, the only way that this would be unauthorized is if I didn't sign some paperwork. And if you're keeping paperwork from me to keep this some bullshit unauthorized version of the original show.
Well, if you didn't see the papers, you couldn't have signed them.
Where are the papers? So, The Foley of Man, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time and haven't clicked away, is a fan fiction book review show that combines the world of My Little Pony and typically the video game Fallout. However, The Foley of Man, Pray focuses around the video game Prey mixed once again with My Little Pony. Chris here is a brony. And I am not a brony.
He's just a dirty weeb.
Oh, go minasai.
So we always talk about Brie, but we know for a fact that's your cat. That's your cat girl body pillow.
Yeah. So we are reviewing. If you are reading along with us at home, of course, the only people reading along for the first time would be with me, not with you. We are covering chapters 7 and 8 this week. So, if you have not read chapters 7 and 8 of Prey, which you, of course, can find on femfiction.net. Is it a .net? Who's a .net these days, anyways? Yeah. On femfiction, but you can find it. So, if you have not read those chapters, pause the video. Remember, you can always come back. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe and hit that little watch later and, make sure to
check out our merch store.
What merch?
And now a message from our sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends.
If only. If only. Can you imagine if we just got one of those horseshit sponsors? Like,
we got spam mail. We did get spam mail from somebody who was trying to get us hooked up with sponsors.
Sure.
It was literally like hey, sign up for our thing and we'll give you sponsors. It's like, are you sure you're not? It's like, I feel, and this might be rude. I can usually probably tell how valid a scam is based on how much cleavage is in the shot of the icon on Gmail.
Yes.
So obviously, the more cleavage, the more likely it is to be catfishing.
So what you're saying is tits or get the fuck out.
If tits, get the fuck out.
So we find our heroes, Gallus and Acellus, having just fought a series of crazy starved drones. Of the changeling drones, they are now attempting to continue to collect the elements of what are they? Vice,
I think.
Elements of vice. I almost said disharmony.
Well, I think it works.
It kind of are the elements of disharmony, but instead of 6, there's only 4. It means that Kkat didn't want to write more chapters. That's what it really means. Or that Luna, being a lesser princess, was just like, fuck it, I'll have 4 of these things.
I mean, if you wanted
maybe she couldn't think of another vice after her 4.
Let's be honest here. If you really wanted to, you just base it off the 7 deadly sins because they're already presented.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in our universe.
No, I mean that's like what some of these are. There's greed. There's greed, wrath, lust,
Beaufry.
Yeah.
Beaufry is a made-up crime. It's when you expose yourself to a blind person. A victimless crime, I might add. I don't care how many times I have been indicted for acts of Beaufry. It's not a real crime.
It always reminds me of the nun joke.
What nun joke?
A blind man goes up, a streaker goes up and he flashes 3 nuns sitting on a park bench. 3 Catholic nuns. The first one, she can't believe her eyes and she has a stroke. The second one, she as well is taken back and has a stroke. The third one, she just fondles the balls a bit.
That's so tasteless. Well, you do remember. Do I want to go here? Sure, why not?
Do it.
Do you remember what Cinderella said when she got to the ball?
What did Cinderella say when she got to the ball?
So bad. It's so tasteless. I immediately distanced myself. Can you believe that Robert said that? What a sophomoric son of a bitch. He has no class or taste.
You have to change your tone a little bit to get to the Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did he say that? Did he say that? It's almost like he thinks it's funny.
I wasn't thinking that, but now I am.
I think... Do you think he meant oral sex? Yes. That's the joke. Oral sex. And oral sex is never a joke.
Now for the oral sex.
Yes, of course. Well, I suppose in that instance, oral sex is the
Isn't
joke.
that like the one scene that they always rip out of Monty Python when they show it on...
Yeah, I was going to say, it never makes it to air. Castle Anthrax, Monty Python's Flying Circus, and
Holy
the Holy
Grail.
Grail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Gallus and Acellus are making my way downtown, looking for changelings, trying to find them elements. So they Gallus thinks it's super cool to be like, well, I got this little spray nozzle that shoots the queen's, expanding resin, and let me just fire it at every goblet in here. And then he realizes that, okay. He's also gonna pick up goblets, and I should also say Gallus is a griffin. Yes. And he starts taking goblets and banging them on the tables and being like, nope, not a thing. So he pulls out a note and writes with his inkwell and sticks it to it, says, not a changeling.
Not a changeling.
And she, Acellus is like, I can turn into a note.
Yeah.
And so he very sheepishly is like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. Which is funny because later in chapter 8, they go to a room where every goblet in the room has a note on it that says, not a changeling.
That was a reference to Prey. I don't remember if you noticed that from the game, but there's a sequence where you go into an office.
The game.
I didn't know how much of it you were aware of.
Yeah.
There's a sequence where you go into an office and everything in the office has a note written on it that says "not a changeling," or not a mimic. Sorry.
Yeah, not a mimic.
Not a mimic. Actually, in one of the levels of Doom Eternal, where you go back to Earth, you can actually go into a side office, and on the side office, on one of the computers, is a note that says "not a mimic."
Interesting. Well, all the same studio. Well, parent studio.
Yeah. Production studio.
Production studio.
Yeah.
It's a studio.
Especially,
Different team. Same
Yeah.
studio.
Different developers.
Yeah.
And all the same studio now, especially thanks to all the same
Microsoft.
production. Yep.
Microsoft just owns everything.
Well, I mean...
Was that Microsoft's move to be like, Epic Games just keeps buying everybody else? Why don't we swing the money stick?
Well, the thing is, out of all of the megalomaniacal corporations to absorb everything around them, Microsoft's probably the best one.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of a time where they've really done they've done super horrible things as a company, but compared to all the others, I think theirs is the least terrible.
Yeah, it's just their former CEO who's trying to kill people.
Yeah.
And buying up farmland in the United States.
Steve, what's his name?
No. No, that's the other evil corporation.
No, I'm literally talking about the guy who's developers.
Yeah. Steve Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer, yeah.
Yeah, who owns the Los Angeles Clippers.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Evil CEO.
Evil.
Evil.
So back to the story. We come across a changeling that is fire. Literally, fire emoji. This changeling is not matter of any other kind except pure energetic fire. You keep looking over there. Is something wrong?
I might have to change the setting real quick.
A setting. Okay.
Keep going.
Do. All right. Yeah, but I was hoping for your reaction. So there is a changeling that rather than being an object is actual literal fire. Not a phoenix, not a fire elemental, just fucking fire. You back?
Yes. Quite scary, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the concept of it, something becoming something that is effectively just a matter, not even anything specific, a state of matter.
Yes.
Well,
it's like I was trying to explain to Brianna last week about plasma, and she said, "What is plasma?" And I said, "Plasma is plasma." And she said, "What is plasma?" And I'm like, "Well, plasma is a state of matter. Right?
Yeah. It's
there's solid, gaseous, liquid, plasma, right?
It's even more confusing when you realize that gas is actually liquid. It's dumb.
Well, gas can be compressed into a liquid.
No, I mean gas is a liquid. That's the dumb part. Gas is a springy liquid. Liquid is not springy. Gas is springy.
Moving on.
I know it's dumb.
We didn't come here for a physics lesson. What we did come here to talk about is the psychology of Carl Jung and the Lion King.
Oh.
No. So
much better than Sigmund Freud and the Lion King.
Well, yeah, Simba doesn't try and fuck his mom.
Father. that would be the take. That would be the take. You see, in fact, that Mufasa is a stand-in for his mother, and he really just wanted to have sex with his mother.
So here's the thing that they don't really explain, right? So there's no other male lions except for Scar. Nala clearly is not a child of Scar. Therefore, Nala is a half-sister of Simba, and their relationship is incestuous. Discuss. Or disgust. I'm more of a disgust.
I mean, it can be both. But honestly, I mean, it's the animal it's the animal kingdom. Of course they're gross.
It's crazy. You remind me so much of my mother, just like all of the women in this tribe. Pack. Pride. Oh no, it's a pride pack. Let's get them!
Oh no, there were other male lions.
So, where the hell were we?
The RuPaul
Anyways,
lions have a bigger mane.
I don't.
Moving on.
No, wait a minute. Wait, the RuPaul of lions would have no mane.
Would have a bigger mane because it's RuPaul.
No, well, right, but okay. Let's look at RuPaul.
And when you look at RuPaul and go, dude.
RuPaul is a biological male,
exactly,
who likes to appear as a female. So
with
if there was a lion,
gaudy as possible.
right. But like what you're implying is that RuPaul is a male that wants to appeal more male.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, is the mane a masculine symbol or just a gaudy symbol?
I don't know where we're going with this.
I don't know
think
either.
It has nothing to do with Prey or Fallout. And Kkat is very disappointed in both of us. I can see the judging eyes staring at us now.
Mm-hmm.
It's really judging text. We've never made eye contact.
No.
So, on that note,
the
changeling, the fire changeling, they're trying to stop it with resin, and the resin's just burning up and stinks, because it's just queen goo. And, but they hide, they get into a room, they're safe, it's whatever. Yeah. What? I'm just, like, there's lots of relationship stuff that goes on here. There's lots of like, I'm so sorry and I'm feeling weak and just hold me. We got to set up this love triangle, right? We got to get this love triangle going. And right now, what we have is a love trapezoid, right? Not even what we have. I know.
Convex isohedron.
They also come across Luna here and there, very spottily, losing connection here and there. And they keep trying to figure out who the fuck made this happen, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe it was Discord. Maybe it was him all along. And it's like, wait, no, I really believe that he was trying to do good. So maybe what he was doing was actually warning us about this in a way that a god of chaos would warn us. And I would love to have this conversation in the idea of not knowing what it is, but you've already read the goddamn story, so you already know what happens. Yeah. And I hate this, and I'm going to say it again and again and again. One goddamn day, we're going to read a story that you don't know all the fucking answers so that we can have real skeptical conversations. Because what it is, you know what this show is? It's me taking wild stabs in the dark and Chris pretending whether it's right or not.
Well, it's better than it used to be where I'd go, oh, we'll see. That's an interesting take you've made there. I'm glad that you could be so wrong.
You know what? There were a couple things in Fallout Equestria that I hit the nail on the fucking head.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I don't know who's done it yet. Maybe it was Luna. Probably not. We have no idea. Maybe it was no one's fault.
Well, you're still missing out on Queen Elytra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does raise the question, is all of this really just a test? Because I do know some things about Prey.
Yeah.
Right? And what I know about Prey is that you can't really trust anything that you're looking at. And I know the last time I said this, Kkat was like, stop questioning everything. It's okay. Just keep reading the story. Press on. And things will be answered.
Well, no, I think I made the joke of it's actually the fact that you wake up as a person who's read a My Little Pony fanfiction. That's where the entire story's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
And you have buzzing phone.
Hold up. Hold up. Oh, yeah. This is going on the podcast. I want y'all to know what wedded bliss looks like. It is constantly letting your partner know that you're not dead.
Bree's just sitting there with her fingers crossed, like looking at that life insurance policy, fingers crossed, like maybe he's dead.
I do want to say, and I hesitate to say this, but if I ever disappear under questionable circumstances, I am of sound mind. I would never commit suicide, and I have caught my wife breathing heavily over my insurance policy in the middle of the night. I don't know if that's a bad sign, but what I do know is that it's a huge turn on. You are obsessed with my demise. Let's make a baby.
Necrosimping?
Yeah. Worth more dead than alive. That's also not true. It's not true. My goal,
unlike
in life,
the U.S. military, that is actually
right?
not the case.
Wow. My goal is to make more money in my lifetime than my life insurance would pay out.
That's actually a good goal for most people.
Yeah, should be. It's a big goal. I got a big policy. Because, like, if I died now, it would be absolutely devastating. Yeah. Chris would never recover.
Yeah.
He'd probably kill himself.
And I don't have a life insurance policy.
Ooh. Well, you can't really have a life insurance policy.
I can't.
It's because he handles explosives.
Yeah. It's because every single time I talk to an agent, I have dip in my mouth.
Yeah, that's right. Smoker or non? Non. Does this look like smoke? That would be an interesting... There's a reason why they don't say smoker or non. They say tobacco user.
Yeah.
That they've changed the language because I'm sure some redneck was like, I don't smoke at all. That shit'll mess you up.
Leicester, North Carolina, home of the biggest smart asses that rednecks could ever produce.
That is without a doubt one of the most disgusting habits. And this is coming from someone who eats sunflower seeds and spits the seeds.
Well, I mean, everybody has to know. Everybody should know that the Irwin High School buses have to be pressure washed every summer
from the dip stains out the window. It's not a joke. People think it's a punchline. It is absolutely not.
It's hilarious because it's true.
And what bus driver? I guess it's just too many kids doing it. The bus driver's like, whatever.
It's Leicester. What bus driver are you going to find in Leicester that's going to give two shits?
So, anyway. Gallus and Acellus are desperately trying to survive. They're desperately trying to keep their sanity. And basically, as they're stumbling around the castle, we come across a healing station, which is the apparition of like a bat butler that like, yes, allow me to wipe thine hind in, miss. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever it is. And it magically cures you. Obviously, the gamification, right? You know, so all their wounds get tended and that sort of thing. But we find in, as we're going through, not the wine cellar, where do they go to? It doesn't really matter where it was, but so they go to a part, it's like a Colosseum part of the castle or something like that, whatever. And they are met by a 30-foot tall, full-sized adult dragon that has very familiar colorings to their friend Smolder. Except Smolder's got a crazed look in her eye. Something that, again, I believe was something. This was one of those things that smacks of something that's happened in the show, but that I don't understand. Yeah, that's like dragons have this like hay fever or greed fever that makes them turn giant.
So as soon as they start getting a little bit greedy, it starts consuming them, and they like rapidly progress to adulthood.
Is an allegory for puberty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Except they can come back.
Yes.
Right. So, anyways. We find out one of the elements of vice or elements of harm. The elements from harm, HARM. What would HARM stand for if it was the elements of harm?
I've watched Agent from Harm so many times because it's one of the dumbest things that's ever existed. And I still have no idea.
Hate, anguish, racism, misogyny. That's what it is.
Actually, based on some of the scenes from that, misogyny could totally work. 1960s.
I'll massage your knee.
1960s. I guess Italian, French. I have no idea. Some kind of European-funded movie in California where they tried to pass off California as the French like countryside.
Whatever. So one of these elements of disharmony or vice. I keep making up. All right, elements of vice doesn't really matter. They're bad. is a gem. And it turns out that their dragon friend Smolder ate the gem and has gone insane.
Yep.
And massive. And but it's revealing. What's funny about it is that the gem can't be that smart for it to have convinced a dragon to eat it, because it would be consumed. It would be digested.
Well, that's what the gem wants. It's like the Ring of Power. The Ring of Power just wants to be used to find Sauron. It doesn't matter if it actually destroys itself in the process. It just needs to find a way to Sauron.
You know, on that note, there's actually a pretty interesting theory about this, that the reason why Smeagol falls into the fire of Mount Doom is because he broke his oath. That it was Frodo who actually cursed him, and that's what caused him. So in the movie, they make it look like he stumbles and falls, right? But in the book, it's more ambiguous, whereas it could be implied that because Frodo cursed him, remember, he makes Smeagol swear on the precious, on the ring. The ring has power, right? Mm-hmm. And the ring ostensibly has the power to bind, and in the darkness bind them, right? And so Smeagol says, I will never harm the master. I swears on the ring. I swears on the precious, right? Mm-hmm. And but he does. He hurts Frodo and tries to take the ring from him, thereby breaking his oath. And the punishment, like you said, is his death.
Yep.
That just so happens to destroy the ring as well.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of Lord of the Rings deep dive as of late.
It's got a lot of great analogies to philosophy and psychology and everything like that. It's amazing. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like the element of greed is what it is. It just wants to activate itself.
Yeah, sure.
It wants to form itself out of stasis.
But it is funny.
Destroyed in the process, it doesn't care.
Right, but you do think about that. Like if it had truly been destroyed in the gut of Smolder, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get ahead of it. They figure out a way to get it out of the gut, right? But
I've seen enough.
If it gets destroyed in the gut, then literally they can't get to Earth. It destroys Queen Chrysalis's plan. Elytra. Chrysalis was the other bad queen. There's a lot of stuff I'm having to keep track of here. Queen Elytra. That would trap her on the moon, because the only way to get back is to use the elements of ice.
Yep.
So, but anyways, Smolder, who has the hots for Acellus, is like, want, mine, mine. And Acellus even tries to transform into a changeling version of Smolder to be like, this is what you should look like. You should be good. And Smolder doesn't want that. Hits her away. Wants, change back. Wants her to look like Acellus, which helps Acellus understand, like, okay, so when I transformed into a dragon before, that's not why she was checking me out. She likes me for me.
Aww. And in a story that's deeply... well, when a great deal of the story is dedicated to what or who am I, if I am anything, if I am everything, then what am I truly? It does kind of give a small glimpse of an answer in that you are what other people perceive you to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in the case of Acellus, it's like, well, what am I? Well, you are the thing that Smolder has the hots for. You are the person that Gallus likes playing D&D with. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Regardless of what your outward shape looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there was an interesting part of this that you actually skipped over, which was the moon sharks.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I read both chapters today.
But
they're not really sharks. They're more like eels.
Yeah.
They're based off of a giant eel. But yes, they were swimming in the lunar surface. They're moon sharks.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say beyond that.
Yeah.
But that's how the dragon is revealed. Is like the dragon snatches it up out of the sand regolith, not sand regolith, which is what you call the particles on the moon, and burns it with dragon fire, which actually seems to burn it rather than transporting it somewhere else.
Well, it's not Fallout Equestria, so don't know how it works here.
It's true.
Then again, Celestia may have gotten a very, very interesting message.
Chris, all I know from this is that the rules have changed, but the players are the same. So, anyways, Acellus is like, well, we got to do something. And they're getting their asses handed to them, right? And also, flying on the moon is difficult because though there's air, the air is thin, but the gravity's less. And I don't know how this works. If the air is thin, but the gravity's less, you'd think you'd have an easier time. But I don't know.
Well, it means that whatever force you are imparting is
Like
going to be less.
Right. So Kkat says in the story, like, it was easier for me to move and I could move quicker hopping versus trying to fly, which makes sense because thin air, no matter... Like, theoretically, with low gravity, you would think that if the air was exactly the same, you would propel more.
Yeah.
But the air is thin and low gravity.
And you can imagine that it's somewhat like flying is... I have to speak from a perspective of somebody who doesn't fly. For all of you who do know how to fly, maybe you could correct me on this.
Yes. Your bones are too dense. That's really your problem.
Yes. I always heard my head was too dense. Anyway,
one of the things that are too dense.
The issue, I think, partially is when we're walking, we have a very specific response because the worm brain is actually what does a lot of the locomotion. That's what does a lot of the actual handling of muscle position. Because one of the actual things is that humans don't have 5 senses; we have dozens, and one of them is the fact that we know where our muscles are in space without looking at them. So it's possible that without the kind of feedback one would expect from always having been in an environment with a similar density of atmosphere, being in a lesser atmosphere would probably screw up exactly how much you were pivoting forward and backwards with the wing surface.
So Ocellus, to save the day, transforms herself into a giant squid and shoves her tentacle down Smolder's throat.
Lewd.
Yeah, super lewd. And which forces Smolder to throw up the contents of her stomach and also burn the shit out of Ocellus' arm.
Yep.
Because, shockingly, the stomach acid of a dragon, which is designed to break down gemstones, kind of toxic and caustic. So, yeah. But she lives and keeps her, her leg.
Yep.
Which is good. And they move on, and they're trying to explain everything and blah, 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 and it's fine. And Smolder's like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It just looked so tasty, and, I liked gems. And they think that the gem is destroyed because it's broken up into a bunch of pieces in the pile of vomit on the ground. And then it, reforms into one gem. Yeah. Which Ocellus scoops up into her magic bag. We also find out that there are... these stations, we already have seen a glimpse of it, but there's these stations around the castle that allow you to manufacture whatever you want. As long as you have a plan for it, it'll manufacture whatever you want. And we kind of find it offhanded. Gallus is like, oh yeah, there was this thing in the other room, and I made this, cool little crossbow that shoots little foam darts.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did you make that? And it's like, oh, there's these stations around that make whatever you want. And it was such a weird throwaway. And it's like, well, when did you get away to do that, Gallus?
Yeah.
I get that it's the gamification, but there's a couple times in this chapter where stuff just happens and it's like, but what was the build up to this?
Yeah.
So this was just, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously trying to connect the universes in a way that doesn't want to dwell too heavily on the details that do not matter.
I just feel like there's things that are missing. I almost feel like this story was rushed. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
I will tell you that it was very quickly written.
There's right.
After an initial thought process that actually went through a while, there was next chapter's done.
It feels like we're rushing to get to do the next thing. And maybe it's just the nature with which I'm reading it, but it just kind of...
It didn't actually feel like that's how I played Prey, so it feels very natural.
Sure. Well, and of course this is it's panic, right? Mm-hmm. It's a psychological thriller is what this is supposed to be. We're going from one thing to the next. And we keep getting these little interspersed moments where the three of them just act like things are totally normal. Ha ha ha, remember this thing? In fact, there was a quote that I wanted to share that I thought was really funny in this chapter. So bear with me. All right, here we go. Where is it? Oh, here we go. We live in Equestria. Here we go. We live in a society. We live in Equestria. Who hasn't done something bizarre and out of character while under the influence of a magical artifact?
Yeah.
Which I felt was a big reference to the show.
It is a very big reference to the show, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's actually, I think, a soft...
Isn't this weird? And it's like, well, actually, it's not that weird.
Well, I think it's also a soft critique of the fact that the show very heavily relies on that kind of storyline several times, where you could argue that Starlight Glimmer was under the effect of. Well, no, she wasn't under the effect of that because it was just a plain piece of wood. But you have like the Alicorn amulet and other things like that. It's just
A lot of magical items.
Tons of magical items. The whole elements of harmony thing becoming physicalized, but also not physicalized, and also then breaking and becoming ethereal, but then reforming in a spiritual sense. It's like make up your damn mind.
Yep.
Where you want to go with this.
And I'm. So, is there anything else at the end of the chapter that I'm missing out?
No, they just keep talking and decide to continue. There's just small little tidbits of dialogue back and forth that they're just kind of understanding. But
it's just relationship building. Ocellus does some weird thing where she whispers to her like, "I'll show you my hoard later" or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's dildos. It's her patent pending dildo suit, which is weird for a changeling to have any extra devices because you could just turn into whatever you wanted.
Including a dildo. Oh no.
Yeah, means it had to come from somewhere.
Like,
let's just say Mrs. Rarity is super pissed.
Yeah. Oh, and we're not getting any deeper into that because I feel like I feel like
the storyline of the Beverly Hills 90210 version of My Little Pony would be like Rarity's actually a secret virgin, right? She seems so lascivious and so, in
all of the media that you've consumed, which is not the show.
I know it's not the show, right? Right. Well, I said it's the Beverly Hills 90210 version, right? So it's like the edgy teenagers, like, you're all strung out on heroin and I want your dick, right?
Thank you, Rainbow Dash.
I hope to God that Rainbow Dash doesn't sound like that. So, yeah, well, what you're hearing, folks, is that I am officially auditioning for the voice of Rainbow Dash for the new My Little Pony.
I don't think they actually included any of those characters into the new version of the show. I think that was probably something that was scrapped. I don't know. I'm not watching it. I don't care.
Yeah, you are a hipster brony, or a brony hipster, probably a brony hipster. I think that's more accurate. Yeah. You liked it before it was cool. By the way, I want to clarify it. It's still not fucking cool, but that's okay.
What's the definition of cool?
Not that. See Brony.
7,000 people going to a convention.
Yeah, see Brony, not that.
Exhibit A.
It is many things. The Brony wearing the Rainbow Dash hat, holding their Twilight Sparkle girlfriend pillow.
The one DeviantArt user who started attacking anyone who did Twilight Sparkle pictures because he was actually in love with her, and how dare they?
Oh no, you're in love with a cartoon horse. I don't mean to diminish or disparage any of you at home who may be in love with a cartoon horse. But I will
is crossed when you try to find a place in Las Vegas that will marry you to a fictional character. And then follow through. And then post about it on the internet.
It's legal somewhere.
But
you know what?
At least we are at Steven Universe. At least the Brony community has never tried to convince someone to commit suicide.
I just want to say, it's a victimless crime. Marrying a cartoon character.
Okay.
Right?
I was about to say, pushing someone into committing suicide.
No, that is definitely. I want to say, right here, right now, I'm going to make this statement, proclamation, that I, of sound and sober mind, Robert of the Folly of Man, along with my partner here, Chris of the Folly of Man, we are against suicide. It's bad.
Yeah.
Just like rape. Suicide is just like rape. In that it's bad.
Well, I mean, one of the aspects that we do talk about in the consequences of both, to be serious, is the effects that you have on the people around you. And so, in that regard, rape not only affects the individual, but a lot of the people they interact with, because it kind of does things to the way that people interact with each other, and it can definitely ruin an individual and the experience that anyone else had with them.
On that note, if you like what you've seen here, make sure to check out our other sister show that is the authorized version of the show versus the unauthorized version of the show, which is just called The Folly of Man, where we review Project Horizons. But before I get back into that, Chris, do you know what time it is?
The time that we would usually say for the main show?
Right. Yeah, because we don't do that on this show, which is why you baited me earlier. With something that we can't do now. So for those of you at home, yes, I did just pun tease you. I am a pun tease. Remember that if you are listening to us on the audio version, please check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ChrisCoCast. We have a lot of fun there. And remember as well that if you like watching us on YouTube, that you can always download the audio version of the show. I actually put some effort into it, making sure that it's cleaned up and that it's nice.
Yep.
The real party is, however, not in the comment sections of YouTube, despite the algorithm. The real fun is on our Discord channel. And remember that you can find that in either the description of the audio podcast or down below the video that you see here.
If you see here.
Yes. You can also email us at cbpbch@gmail.com. Again, that is cbpbch@gmail.com. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anywhere else that we need to tell them that they need to go. But I do want to ask Chris, if I may, for a very serious moment, what nuggets of knowledge do you have to pass on to our listeners, our loyal listeners, and viewers at home?
Don't do drugs.
You heard it here first. So, thank you all very much for joining us on The Folly of Man. For Chris, I am Robert, and we will see y'all next time on The Folly of Man Project Horizons. Bye!
Go on.
Get the fuck out.
It's over.
It's
Go home.
all over but the crying. So get your shit and get out of our show. Ba-bum-ba-bum-bum-bum.
It's all over, but the cry.
We're gonna do the communal sip.
Oh, yeah.
Get everybody. Yeah, that's right.
Goes down.
Actually, it is pretty smooth. Last couple times she made coffee for me, it was like black tar heroin. It was just it was a hole.
Coffee
and don't get me wrong, I like 98% dark chocolate.
Coffee is only supposed to accomplish its goal when it's in one of two states. Either it's taking the enamel off of your teeth or it's adding more.
That's right. Remember, kids, when you're on Zoom, that you need to blow on the mug for them to think that it's actually coffee.
Yeah.
And not wine. Or bourbon.
I mean, I feel like Everclear would be the choice. It's like, oh. Just make sure that when you do that inhale thing, you don't cough your ass off, because if it's alcohol, you will.
Better the simultaneous sip versus the simultaneous simp. That's when
We
both of us
just give to cam girls at the same time.
I was going to say, it's when we both give money to Belle Delphine at the same time.
Anyway.
Again, I don't get the appeal. Yeah.
She's like a 14-year-old.
I'm into women.
That's the appeal. The appeal is that she looks like she's 14.
I like women with hair on their vaginas.
Just not in.
Oh, well, yeah. Not well, you know, a peach is only fuzzy on one side. The outside.
Oh.
You degenerate horse fucker.
Hey, we're all horse fuckers here. Anyway.
How dare you?
Anyway. Mostly talking about our audience, sir.
Ma'am, it's ma'am.
It's ma'am?
It's